Montgomery County Executive, testifying in support of House Bill 561. From Montgomery County's perspective, and hopefully everybody on this panel, we all know we're in a climate emergency. If the weather outside this winter doesn't tell you that, I don't know what does. And our county government has committed itself to initiating a massive global mobilization of resources to try to restore a safe climate and build a sustainable economy. We know that our part is one part of what everybody has to do, but we need to do our part. And our goals are to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the county by 80% by 2027 and 100% by 2035. These are ambitious goals. We have to take all possible steps to address climate change and move to clean, renewable energy as quickly and as widely as possible. And this work has to be done at every level of government. House Bill 561 gives local governments like ours one important tool as we work toward eliminating greenhouse gas emissions. And it's a tool that encourages competition for supply. The county could offer a large contract that would require clean energy at a reasonable price. I can't think of a better way for local governments to encourage competition for clean energy. In no way would we exclude Exelon from being able to bid on that. They would simply have to respond with supply of clean energy in order to be likely to win a contract. This is how markets are supposed to work. Somebody creates a demand, someone creates a supply to meet the demand. We want to make sure that the markets work in favor of supplying clean energy rather than the markets work in terms of protecting the investor interests of Pepco and Exelon rather than the public interest. Community choice energy gives local governments a chance to better control our fuel sources, and House Bill 561 does not require us to implement a CCE, but it gives us the option to act. And it really is the tool we need. It gives us a chance to purchase and generate clean energy for as many residents and businesses as possible. We've already been approached by people who produce clean energy and who want to build further capacity to talk about what the county would be in a position to do. It also has the potential to lower rates for customers. And I can assure you that the county is not going to negotiate a contract that doesn't try to drive prices as low as possible. We would be remiss in our responsibility to our residents if that was not one of our goals. I understand that some may worry about opt-out rather than opt-in approach. Any effort we undertake would include a widespread education component explaining what we are doing, why we're doing it. And I understand this bill is going to need some amendments, and I support the work that Delegate Chardukian has done to get this bill into a position where it will work for Montgomery County and work for people in the state of Maryland. I do want to talk a little bit about the opt-out. She mentioned we already have an opt-out system. This is kind of like when the healthcare reform people argued that Obamacare was going to create death panels. You already have death panels. Anybody who's dealt with insurance companies know they routinely decide to deny service to people and medicines to people. We have death panels there, and we've got an opt-out system today. And I just prefer that our jurisdiction set the standard for what we want and be able to negotiate for price and for type of energy. And if people want to opt out and buy dirty energy, we're not prohibiting them from doing it, but we want to set the standard for what the preference is. This gives us the ability to drive ourselves toward our climate goals by saying the county's first choice is clean energy. It doesn't preclude anybody from bidding on a contract. It doesn't prevent anybody from, Exelon from saying you can opt out of what the county's providing and we'll sell you something different. But it shifts the balance of power toward clean energy rather than dirty energy, and that's the most important thing to us. We think this bill would be a major tool that we would use in the county. We believe it would advance our climate goals. We invite Exelon to think about how they supply energy so that they would be more competitive in this market. We would like to help them modernize and enter the 21st century at a more rapid pace. So we look at ourselves as helping the market for the supply of energy as well as helping the market for our consumers and actually doing something about climate change. So I'd urge this committee to support the bill and look forward to working with people. And if people want to know more about Montgomery County, happy to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Davis and everybody on the committee. I'm Stuart Pittman, the county executive from here in Anne Arundel County. And so I'll talk about this from the perspective of a county executive who might use it if it passes. I first learned about this because I was asked to moderate a panel on the topic at MACO, not knowing anything about it, but moderators don't need to know. But by the end of it, though, I was intrigued, and I knew that there were a lot of people in the room who were intrigued. And I went back and I talked to our environmental policy director in Anne Arundel County, who had already been tasked with figuring out how to do more renewables in our county. And we had a great conversation about this. It sort of started with talking about what's going on at the state level, that there are some very ambitious goals in the state of Maryland to get to more renewables, but there is not really a plan. And as local officials and counties, we want to be part of that plan. We want to be a partner with the state in meeting those goals. So the way we see it is that we have some land in the county where pretty significant size solar farms could be set up. We've had struggles with solar in our county in the past, with smaller community solars in places that people don't want them. But we think that by having the ability to work with producers of electricity and even setting up some of our own solar operations to be able to produce electricity, we can put together all these sources, and we know that we have a market. We know that we would have the residents who would not opt out and participate if we keep the prices low. So what that means is that in our county, we're actually a major player, county government, accounting to the people, a major player in making the plan for our county so that the energy production happens where we want it to happen, how we want it to happen, and it fits with the goals of our electorate. And in Anne Arundel County, we have 530 miles of coast, and we have a lot of people who care a lot about the environment, and they understand that this climate crisis is real, sea level rise is real. Anybody in Annapolis knows that, and so this is an opportunity for us to step in, serve our residents, aggregate everybody, and put together a plan on renewables and pricing that we think we can be a great partner with the state to get where we need to go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Executive Elrich, you've been here a few times before us. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Each time you come before us, you talk about a climate emergency. And I was wondering if you could elaborate briefly on the emergency that is the climate.
God.
On that, I'm going to see you guys later.
Well, just let you know, County Executive Pittman, you were my second question. Look, so, yeah, good job.
Nice escape. Look, I happen to believe the climate scientists who say you're going to get more high temperature days, which is not a good thing. You're going to have shifting of where things grow and can grow successfully and where they will not be able to grow successfully anymore. I talk to people at the National Academy of Sciences who work in agriculture, and they talk about small changes in temperature, like 2 degrees centigrade, deciding whether or not a tree is going to grow or a crop's going to grow successfully. So I think we know it's there. Annapolis is dealing with tides that are coming up, and I'm lucky. Montgomery County, the Potomac River is not going to flood Montgomery County, but I do have to think about other people who are going to deal with things. On the other hand, I will say our storm events are overwhelming us, and because the water is coming down so fast, it's not absorbing. So even though I get a lot of water, it's not replenishing the aquifer and our water supply. It's running straight into the Potomac, and it's gone. So you could argue we have the same or more rain, but because of the way the rain falls, it doesn't have the benefit of slower, more intermittent rain. So it's hitting us.
No, I appreciate that. So I guess a year or two or so ago, you said we have 12 years. I think you said that.
But we gave ourselves a more limited time.
So what happens in 12 years, or I guess it's 10 years now. What happens in 10 years?
Globally, it's going to be a lot worse. And, I'm hoping that Montgomery County's initial steps lead other people to move in the same direction. We know what task we took on.
And you think, sir, that this bill will save the citizens of Montgomery County money on their electricity bills?
I think it has the potential to save us money overall.
So in 2010 or thereabouts, I was reading that your county, and I think you were county councilman at the time,
yeah.
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you guys passed an energy tax.
Yep.
And that energy tax, is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that energy tax, I think, raised a good amount of money.
Yep.
What is that energy tax being used for?
That energy tax, undisguised, was used at the time to make up revenues that were lost during the recession, flat out. And what we didn't do is, Virginia's alternative to the energy tax, just so everybody knows, was a 3% gross receipts tax on all commercial business. And when we asked the private sector, can I trade the 3% gross receipts tax for the energy tax? Most people would pick the energy tax over the gross receipts tax. All of us struggled during the recession. It hasn't gotten much better.
But the economy is really good now, and you still have the energy tax.
I could explain to you the perversity of what happened with our tax process, but you can grill me on this. Because of the way the county property tax works, we do not benefit from increases in assessment and new construction.
I'm not sure that's the case because I have a Pepco Maryland customer bill in front of me, and it has a line item on it that says Montgomery County energy tax.
Yes, you said energy. I'm talking about property tax in terms of revenues.
I'm talking about the energy tax, sir, that you voted for 10 years ago, that was used and put into swept into the budget, and now we have a good economy, and you're still sweeping into the budget. And I'm just curious, if there really is a climate emergency, why, and you're getting $130 million just from Pepco a year. So I'm guessing it's a couple $100 million a year at least, maybe. And if there's a climate emergency, why haven't you used the $2 billion since 2010 to solve the climate emergency in Montgomery County?
Because if I took $130 million out of my operating budget, I'd be making, I have a $935 million that is fungible in my budget. And if I took $130 million out of that, I'm looking at cuts to schools, I'm looking at cuts to police and fire and public services. The revenues have not recovered, and I think we are not the only jurisdiction where the revenues haven't recovered. Fairfax County's property tax is $1.15, which is 15 cents higher than ours. They have the gross receipts to tax. They have a 12-cent tax on all commercial property to provide transportation, which I don't have, and a bunch of other special taxing districts.
I hear you. Look, here's the thing. You come
Yeah,
here.
because this is starting to feel like Ways and Means.
No, I'm almost. Yeah, you're right about that. It's good. I mean, we hear this hyperbole of we only have 10 years left and there's a climate emergency. Yet,
I never said 10 years left.
Yet we have 10 years. Okay, and so we have. And then you guys have collected a couple of $1 billion since 2010, and you've been part and parcel of that.
Yes.
And you haven't done anything to improve and use that money to build, I don't know, solar farms in western Montgomery County, or to opt in folks and tell them they can buy into what you can do right now without this bill. You haven't done any of those things, but yet you come to Annapolis year after year and virtue signal to us that which you can't do yourself.
As a county government, we've opted into clean energy, and we do it knowing that it costs us more possibly than other energy. We can't generate more solar farms because the PSC has a limit on the size of what a solar farm can be. We can't even realize the full generation capacity of landfills we're trying to use.
I'm not going to get an argument, but this is my last point. With all due respect, sir, there was a solar farm proposed by the Archdiocese of Washington for Georgetown University in Charles County, and it was 200 plus acres, and they were going to mow down 200 plus acres of trees because the greenies, including this guy here, thought it was a good idea to cut trees down to put solar panels instead. And that's your climate emergency. So that's not true. The fact of the matter is that you can go to the PSC anytime, I'm sure, as a county, and use your $2 billion from your energy tax that you voted for in 2010 and have kept in place and build as many solar farms in Montgomery County as you want to, but you haven't done it in spite of the climate emergency.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're one of the few people who doesn't believe in the climate emergency. I wish you luck.
And you don't either because you've done nothing about it. You don't either because you've done nothing about it.